The record doesn't say where the parade started on Broadway, but I like to imagine it started at St. Mary's, which would have been just recently completed 2 years earlier and was then, as it is now, the most substantial landmark on Broadway. Wherever they started, one can imagine 2,000 veterans easily stretching back to Olneyville Square. Or maybe they mustered at the Dexter Parade Grounds and lined up down Harkness or Almy or Marshall to Broadway. But now I'm just making things up, though mustering at the parade grounds does make sense. In any case, they marched east on Broadway to Ninth Street and made a right turn where Seven Stars Bakery is today. The west side of Ninth Street in 1871 would have looked somewhat familiar to us, as several of the houses there today were there in 1871. But the east side of the street looked much different, with a single estate taking up much of the block between Brighton and Carpenter. The marchers turned left on High Street, now Westminster, around a block east of Ogie's Trailer Park. They could have kept going straight because at that time Ninth Street went through to Cranston, but they did turn left, heading east on what is now Westminster. The soldiers marched through Cathedral Square, although the current St. Peter's and Paul Cathedral wouldn't be built for almost another 20 years. And remember, Westminster/High Street went through unbroken from Olneyville to the Providence River. At that time and for another 100 years, Westminster and Wabasset/Broad Streets resembled an archer's bow, Wabasset/Broad being the bow and Westminster being the string. The two streets met where they meet today at Turk's Head, then met again at Cathedral Square. So as the parade arrived at the western intersection of Westminster and Broad, it veered right onto Broad Street. They continued east on Broad to Dorrance. In those days, that's where Broad Street became Wabasset, and they turned left. They marched one short block on Dorrance to Westminster, turned right, then headed past the arcade and then over the bridge to South Main. Making a right onto South Main at Market House, they marched south to Transit and then turned left, horses and cannons and tubas, going up the hill one block to Benefit and then left again. Marching north on Benefit, they soon passed what I imagine was one of the reasons for the detour over to and up Transit, the Burnside house at Planet Street, which was only 5 years old at the time. One can imagine friends and family of the general waving from the porch as he rode by. To be fair, marching down to Transit Street before going up to Benefit may have been about more than parading past the general's house. The hill at Transit is significantly more mild than any street to the north. The parade passed John Brown's house, First Unitarian, the Athenaeum, First Baptist, and the Old Armory, which wasn't the Old Armory then, it was just the Armory, and then made a left at Meeting Street, dropping one block to make another left onto North Main, then a right onto Steeple, crossed the bridge, and made a left to arrive at Exchange Place, now known as Kennedy Plaza.